Well, recent episode was a scorcher of one. We're kind of building up now to a plethora of events, especially what happened after the aftermath of the Sequid's attempt of the invasion. My thing, why wasn't Shapesmith just delivered over to the Martian people, knowing that he purposefully left his homeland, allowed a Sequid to be corrupted by a human astronaut, and tried to take over the planet in just a matter of months, all because he wanted to be free. If that wasn't a justifiable reason to just let the Martian people take the obvious criminal, arrest his ass, execute him, do whatever you want, over just for the sentiment of comic relief, that I just think that's the point of Shapesmith's, because you need that fish out of water Martian manhunter character that basically he is. He can shapeshift into anything while morphing elastically while he's coming out of the country. But at least Martian Manhunter, my experience came from the Justice League animated series, that he was a bit more likable and more still the man of peace whenever it comes to acting rational. The only weakness is possibly they both are weak to fire, while the Viltrumites are practically trying to invade Earth. Knowing what happened, and we opened up the show so crazy. Literally, the literal, we were left in a cliffhanger with Rexplode. Rex, literally, after having a little bit of a redemption time, knowing that Duplicate didn't want to do anything to do with him, talking to Eve to help them over the Sakwid invasion, ending with the astronaut at the end literally getting taken over by a Sakwid that was literally in his stomach. As I guess a failsafe if he was ever decorrupted over Robot's device early in the episode. And then it ends with Invincible literally bitching Immortal, being like, "Stop it! I'm stronger and faster than you, and you know it." And I understand he's a Viltrumite. He's obviously over the same is as strong as his father, especially at the time over the Zenkai boost. Because whenever you nearly die, as we saw with Alan the Alien, he literally gets 10 times as strong as the Viltrumites he literally fought and nearly died. And it was crazy. After stopping the Sackwids, escaping off the Martian spaceship back to Earth, with Invincible literally just doing a one-man show, taking out all the vengeful Martians, trying to get Shapesmith back. Him and Eve embrace, obviously teasing over what happens later in the comic, that Marcus and Adam and Eve become an item for a majority of the show. They kind of have the on and offs, but that's how it goes. And as soon as he goes back to Earth, we get a plethora of plot lines that correlate over in a single strand until a major I don't want to say cataclysmic event happen. I'm just teasing over that you'll see the Invincible War, because the Viltrumite War that they're obviously teasing over after you see Nolan getting interrogated and technically prepared to be executed in a space prison, because that's what they're teasing over. That it'll be a while until you see over the Viltrumite War, because it takes a lot of development to build over to the event. And I always like that they just go to multi-section stories, that they go over alien events, superhero relationships, drama still, and it feels like it just goes over to correlating it into connecting, either than just a linear story. That the Invincible universe is vast, but it stays in just one section. And we'll probably see crossovers with more with more Image comic property, and of course, if you guys never heard of Image comics, they also are involved with one of the more popular anti heroes like Spawn. So that's just an exciting teaser to possibly what might happen in the Invincible War. And like the consequences of what happens later in the show, how much the superhero interactions involve like a lot of people's lives, how they tease over Mark's mother that is trying to transition into now raising Oliver, given Mark's grandfather's name, and trying to get a babysitter over not trying to deal with Cecil's cronies, trying to get him under, I guess, scientific experiments while getting somebody that she trusts. So they transition over that. Alan the alien literally getting intercepted by Immortal until Mark tries to cancel the situation because the Immortal just builds up that he's obviously coping and mourning the death of his lover Duplicate that died brutally in that fight against Kimono Dragon. That literally had that bitch getting smushed together with her own duplication. Get it? So he's obviously coping. Even Cecil, the guy's a workaholic and obviously wants the efficiency out of everybody. And you think Immortal with years of fallen close ones, generations of experience, supernatural wisdom, but having that relation over with Duplicate, knowing that there was somebody that he could mutually understand, that they built up over the relationship earlier before the hiatus. That was the type of person that they built over as having somewhat of a closer relationship, other than them clapping cheeks. I mean, he was clapping every part of Kate's cheeks in the shower. I wish they were kind of building it more closer, because it didn't even tease much except them having sex over in the showers, just like what Rex did with Duplicate when cheating on Eve, and just him surviving getting his arm bitten off while like getting cut up and shot to the fucking head, and trying to do a redemption arc. Bro was trying to get the good with the bad as quick as possible. I'm not saying they write themselves over to a corner to try to do an instant redemption story for Rex, but my man was the MVP, knowing you had to survive all that and you still end up trying to be a good person. Shout out to Rex Blode, bro. Shout out to Rex Blode. Alan the alien just came over, just said that now I'm 10 times strong, and he needs Mark to go over to the coalition with him just right after he was done doing a mission involving the Martians. Obviously, Mark is trying to still adjust back into his regular life, knowing that he has family issues, his girlfriend. So Mark could only give the useful information of Nolan's books. And shockingly enough, coincidentally enough, thinking that it's all far tales, Space Racer with his invincible gun, the Ragnars that would become very prevalent into the story as like the biggest weaknesses of the Viltrumites, knowing like they can literally adjust to like very strong gravitational environment of their planet, and it ended up being as strong or stronger than the Viltrumites, even giving Nolan a run for his money and one-shotting possibly another Viltrumite with him. So knowing that correlation, it's gonna get crazy, and there's even more weaknesses of the Viltrumites that are going to play over a factor that you're possibly going to see that are pretty simplistic, and it isn't a Deus Ex like a fucking kryptonite. So it's at least known that there's like a significant like biological weakness, or you just have to be way stronger than the Viltrumites to stand a chance. So that's crazy among itself. So we have the drama involving Cecil. Of course, Donald still coping while trying to assist the guys that are, practically practically healing at the moment with Shrinking Ray, obviously, probably in a major concussion. She's probably going to retire, literally being inside of a man internally for like hours, suffocating between his muscles and guts. Probably painful as shit. Uh, Rex has to literally live with. He'll probably get a robotic hand or something. Uh, I wish there was more of a backstory over him, knowing that he probably suffered a lot, knowing that he had to build over the confidence, and dealing with his relationship with Eve. I guess that'll be built up later, and Duplicate dead, and now Cecil's trying to convince Eve to return over to the team, while after Alan been given the information, and now he's going to be bringing the books over to the Coalition as possible weakness, and this will build up to Alan Alien helping Nolan escape execution by the Viltrumites, and then building up a relationship to be a close friendship that goes on further around the comics, and it helps over to the uh, Viltrumite War. So we have that just correlating together to build over to the next big thing, because it just goes over still to the plot line to here and now. That I always fuck with involving the story, and then of course we have nearing the ending, as soon as Mark was visiting Rex, go as well as Eve, while Eve was trying to deliver somehow magazines, knowing that Rex doesn't like the internet, and Mark was going over his girl troubles that he did with Rex, and then he did with the guy that makes his suits, Art, and then literally, where the hell was I don't know how far of the forest that Amber ran to, because we know Eve lived a far distance away. That bitch probably went all the way to a remote forest to visit her. Even though in the comics, Mark and Amber went to visit Eve in Africa, that where she was living, to help do superhero stuff, and it kind of teased over their relationship, knowing that they're growing far apart, and even Mark kind of had more of a relation with one another, knowing that they're superheroes, and they're kind of building it over, transitioning to one another, trying to live a normal life while the other can only adjust to being a superhero in the relationship, and teasing over that they should talk to one another, that it would be eventually that they would break up. Hell, bro, this relationship's better than the Clark Kent, the new Superman show that came out last year, and people would say, but they're happy. She's more reasonable. Look, at least Amber, they didn't naturally tease, at least naturally foresight or foreshadow that Amber was already acknowledging that Mark was invincible, but knowing that he constantly had to keep jump cutting out of his life, it could be understandable why she would build over a frustration. This bitch just jumped out of a goddamn building just to make sure that she was right, that she's Superman, and still head over heels in love with him for the majority of the show. While, like, the regular Superman with Lois Lane, not Lois Ling, I'm joking, but at least that teased over to the media. Thanks, they both worked over in the media, and it took a long-term burn. And by the way, Lois Lane, that bitch had more than one option in her life. If we saw the way that she acted, come on. I fuck with back in the days Superman animated series Lois Lane. Then oh my god, like freshman out of college Lois Lane that they had. Like, come on. Ridiculous. I'll give the show like a 7 out of 10. Good show. They're also still teasing the multi-dimensional stuff with the guy wearing a suit, showing that he's going to find friends. He's teasing over finding multiversal invincibles, and this would tease the unexpected attack of the Invincible War of dimensional, multi-dimensional marks that come and literally killing everybody, nearly killing everybody. It was insane when I read it in the comics. And just knowing that that's going to be teased over as build, that what happened around the storyboards, it's insane. Either way, great episode for episode 6. The storyboards of development that they're going over, Immortal, Rex, Rudy trying to not be more overprotective, knowing that he nearly got controlled by a Sackwid. The Sackwid's still going to be probably an on-looming threat for the majority of the show. So are the aliens that when they come to a different time, they advance in age faster out of a different dimension. There's a lot of ongoing villains that kind of correlate over to the show, but they always change to make sure they don't repeat. So I always like that over in Invincible. And of course, the Viltrumites that are like Super Saiyans plus goddamn Kryptonians. That's going to be an on-looming threat. And unless, like, you're Mark's level, you're kind of fucked over that sentiment. Or Alan the Alien, knowing that he just got a super boost after nearly dying to, like, 3 of them. And, of course, Oliver's development, because we'll get to see him from a baby to a man, probably over a short term than expected because of his Thraxan DNA, that he rapidly ages, but it slows down gradually when he gets his Viltrumite DNA. That, a fun fact, until, like, he kicks into being a Viltrumite, his mother got to chew his food and spit it into his mouth like a fucking bug or a bird. That's gross. And sorry to leave you with that amount of trauma. Thanks for watching. That's it for me over on the DST show. Like, comment, subscribe for further information or updates. And so we can keep this going. That's it for me.